Today's video is entitled How to Train Your Politicians. Over the past few years, the politicians of Guam have destroyed the public trust that we used to give them blindly by their actions, giving themselves massive retroactive pay raises in secret and also passing a slew of pork barrel laws that went to line the pockets of politically well-connected insiders. But the legislature is the people's house. The people we elect are supposed to look out for our interest first, not their interest and the interest of their supporters. So, going into the 36th Guam legislature, we have an opportunity to once again make the legislature truly the people's house. And oddly enough, politicians made it easy for us because when they decided not to cancel the primary election and look at it as an opportunity to play a political game, they further broke the trust that we had in our elected officials. Now I say play a political game because by not canceling the primary election, every senatorial candidate knew they were moving to the general election with no risk. But in order to play political games at the congressional delegate level, they decided that they would be willing to put tens of thousands of our citizens at risk for the COVID infection. And it's like they don't care. All they care about is getting control of the congressional delegate office for the Democrat Party. That doesn't say very good things about our politicians. So let's look at this in perspective. The COVID virus infection is such a serious threat to the lives and health of our residents that government officials and politicians shut down the government, shut down businesses, putting 35,000, 40,000 people on unemployment and forcing them to wait for hours in lines to get food, and they shut down the schools. So it's a serious enough risk that they shut down the government, business, and schools, but it's not serious enough to interrupt their political party games. So by their vote on Bill 375, they went ahead and forced the primary to take place against all logic and common sense, proving they're more concerned about their political party than the lives of people like you and me. You know, it kind of reminds me of a quote Thomas Jefferson uttered over 230 years ago. So it should not be surprising if sometimes public officials do not heed the voice of the people and go about doing whatever they wish, using their power and authority to enrich themselves and those closely allied to them. But he also reminded us that we as citizens have the ultimate power to decide the future of Guam with our votes. So, with all the senators going to advance to the general election, regardless of voting outcomes in the primary election, they take no risk, but they're risking our lives. And for what? So let's use this primary election as an educational opportunity, or as Ray Tenorio said back in 2018, a teaching moment. So here's the teaching moment. First of all, let's remember the 4 senators who believe that the health care of you, your family, and your children are more important than party politics. And we need to make sure they are reelected into the 36th Guam legislature with high votes in the primary. And they are James Moylan, Republican, Telo Taitigui, Republican, Therese Terlahi, Democrat, and Mary Camacho Torres, Republican. These 4 senators, by their votes, showed us that they believe that the health, safety, and welfare of the people of Guam are more important than party politics, and we need to remember that when we go into the voting booth on the 29th. Equally important, we need to remember which politicians, which senators believed that party politics is more important than you and your family, and we need to replace them with public servants. Remember, the definition of public servants and politicians. Public servants think about the next generation. Politicians think about the next election. And the politicians in the 35th legislature that are running for office in the 36th are Will Castro, Regine Biscoe Lee, but she's not running, fortunately for the people of Guam. Kelly Marsh Taitano, Luis Muñoz, who has withdrawn her petition to run, fortunately again for the people of Guam. Speaker Tina Muñoz Barnes, Sabina Perez, Clint Rigel, Joe San Augustine, Amanda Shelton, and Pito Trelahi. These are the 10 incumbent senators who believed and proved with their vote that party politics is more important than the risk of infection that could damage the health of you, your family, or your friends and associates. So we need to make sure that we send more public servants into the 36th Guam legislature. And this year, let's use the primary election to train politicians. And here's how we use the primary election to send a message that they will not forget. First thing that we need to do is politicians are trying to get us to play games. We hear Democrats talking about, voting in the Republican primary, and we hear Republicans talking about voting in the Democrat primary for the weakest candidates. Don't fall for it. If you're going to be if you're going to vote in the Democrat primary, vote for the Democrats that you feel are strongest. On the Democrat side, there are only 2 incumbents that have proven over the past year and a half and longer that they put the public before the party. And they are Therese Terlahi, number 1, and Talina Cruz Nelson, number 12. So only vote for these incumbent Democrats and then vote for new Democrats. Number 5, Frank Leon Guerrero. Number 6, Fred Berdalio. Number 7, Franklin Meno. Number 8, John Ananich. Number 13, Dave Duenas. And number 15, Chris Carrillo. We don't need to vote for 15, so let's just vote for these and send a message to the incumbent politicians that you put party politics and serving politically well-connected insiders ahead of the people at your own risk. See, the lesson will be when Therese Terlahi, Talina Cruz Nelson, and all the new incumbents, all the new candidates get more votes than the incumbent Democrat senators get. A low vote total in the August 2020 primary will tell politicians that they better start paying attention to the needs and concerns of the people first. Which brings me to the game the Democrats are playing. See, Robert Underwood, as we all know, literally entered the congressional race at the last second. I think it was just with a couple of days before the deadline he jumped in, showing that he is more concerned about playing political games than he is about the health of our seniors, people with chronic illnesses, and our children. He's willing to put their lives at risk because the Democrat Party is still upset with Mike St. Nicholas for refusing to sign the loyalty pledge. And so rather than cancel the primary, they forced the primary to go forward just so Robert Underwood could challenge Mike St. Nicholas and hopefully damage him badly enough that Will Castro could win in the primary. You see, when I listened to Robert Underwood talking about his last-minute effort to run, it confirmed me. It confirmed for me the only reason he was running was because the party is still upset with Mike St. Nicholas. No other reason. Which is kind of ironic when you consider that he is running. And in the talks I've heard so far, he's talking about strengthening the rights of territories. Yet he refuses to add his voice to calling for a vote, an island-wide vote on political status. So I honestly don't believe that the people of Guam can trust Robert Underwood to represent the best interest of all the people in Guam in the U.S. Congress if he's willing to play political games and if he's not willing to stand up and call for an island-wide vote on political status. And the reason he doesn't is like the rest of the independence group. They want to maintain the fiction, as we saw in the paper today about Guam's official entry into the Unrepresented Peoples Organization, the UNPO. They're trying to maintain the fiction that the people of Guam are political refugees when we're not. They're trying to maintain the fiction that we don't have a government, though we do. So if he can't stand up for all the people of Guam on the political status issue and demand that there be an island-wide vote, then how can we expect him to stand up in the U.S. Congress for all the people of Guam, especially with so many critical issues coming to the table? I mean, he and the rest of the independence group refused to acknowledge that 87% of the people of Guam prefer the status quo or closer ties to the United States. So that won't fly. If he can't accept the reality that the congressional delegate is supposed to represent all the people of Guam, then he shouldn't have run in the first place. And the fact he waited to the last minute to run shows he's only running out of petty reasons. And as long as we're talking about the congressional races, I'm recommending that no one who votes in the Republican side of the primary election cast a vote for Will Castro, because he has made his political ambitions more important than the health and safety of the people of Guam and their families. And if someone is so willing to put the lives of people of Guam at risk just for his political ambitions, that is not the type of person we need to be sending to represent us in the halls of the U.S. Congress. When we go to the Republican primary, I'm only recommending 3 Republican incumbents. Number 2, James Moylan. Number 7, Tela Taitakui. And number 12, Mary Camacho Torres. And all the new Republican candidates. Number 1, Dominic Hernandez. And of course, number 4, myself, Joaquin Ken Leon Guerrero. Number 9, Vincent Borja. Number 11, Don Equaline. I'm sure I probably mispronounced his name, and forgive me, Don, but I apologize. Michelle Armenta, Sandra Regis Sayal, and J.I. Cruz. What I don't recommend is voting for what I call recycled senators, except for one. I'm also recommending that the people of Guam vote for one former senator on the Republican side. That would be Frank Blas Jr. The reason I recommend that we vote for him is he was not a member of the 32nd Guam legislature that voted for the massive secret retroactive pay raise. I'm recommending that no one who votes in the Republican primary vote for Tony Atta, and Chris Duenas, who did vote for the secret massive retroactive pay raises, and for Joanne Brown, who through her actions defended the pay raises. All the Republican candidates, like the Democrat candidates in the senator race, will move forward, regardless of how many votes each get. But by making sure that Moylan, Taitagui, and Torres get high numbers of votes, and all the new candidates get more votes than Atta, Brown, and Duenas, we teach the Republican candidates that they too make serving party and politically well-connected insiders more important than serving the people at their own risk. So this year, we as citizens have an opportunity to train our politicians for the 2020 election and into the future by making sure that they know that we are watching them, because this is our island, not their island. They work for us. We don't work for them. And it's our votes that put them in positions of power and authority, and they need to make sure that they consider how their actions affect the people of Guam first. So I encourage everyone watching this video today to make appointments with the Guam Election Commission and vote as safe as possible in this primary election by making an appointment and going to the Guam Election Commission. Their hours are from 9 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and I think it's from 9 to 1 on Saturday. But you can call 477-9791 and make an appointment and go in and be in and out in just a few minutes. It's much safer for you and your family than standing in long lines, probably out in the rain or sun, depending on how they get things set up. But this way is early and safe. And then together we can start charting the future for Guam by making sure that we have more public servants in the 36th Guam legislature than we have politicians. My name is Ken Leon Guerrero. I'm a Republican candidate, number 4 on the Republican ballot. And there's more information on my website, kenleonguerrero.org, or you can call my campaign phone at 727-3506. Let's make the 36th Guam legislature the first legislature in a long time that puts serving the needs and safety concerns of the people first.